Welcome to the Spring LIISMA Partners Meeting and Workshop. For those who don't know me, I'm Abby Marino, the new PRISM leader for LIISMA, and I've been with LIISMA for 4 years. I'm very excited by this opportunity to carry forward the great work that we already have underway. And let's get started with our slides. Here is our growing LIISMA team. I'm joined today by Cassidy Robinson in the back and the new Conservation Area Manager. And we welcome Cassandra Moise as our new Education and Outreach Manager. Could wave to them, they'll be speaking in this presentation. And congrats to both of them on new positions and moving up. Melody will be back in June after her parental leave. And next week we welcome our intern Emma Diaz, who will be with us for the summer. So we have a lot of exciting things. We wish Bill well in his retirement. He just retired last week. We had a great lunch and a final field visit to the dwarf pine plants to celebrate. So today we'll share some updates from LIISMA starting now, and we welcome 3 presentations from our partners. So there's one slight agenda shift. So this includes a partner spotlight from the Conic Land Trust with Josh Halsey and Jesse McSwain. After some roundtable announcements where you guys can share all your updates, we'll continue with a presentation from Peter Davis on navigating change, the New York State freshwater wetlands regulations, with a spotlight on salamanders in the coastal plains. And unfortunately, Polly Wigan cannot make it today. So instead of her presentation on the North Atlantic Fire Exchange Program, we're going to put in an abridged introduction to our Invasive Species Spotters program. If you were there at the webinar, sorry, we're going to be repeating some information, but if you weren't there, that's great. You get to hear more about it. And that's about emerging invasive species and some ways that you could be mapping some things and maybe a discussion at the end. So with that, I'll pass it on to Cassidy to talk more about our conservation areas. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. So we'll be talking about some of our recent conservation area projects. We went to Napeague recently to survey for miscanthus, also known as Chinese silvergrass. We were tasked with surveying some fuel breaks of surrounding residences that have been known to have miscanthus. And miscanthus is threatening maritime heathlands, pitch pine, dune woodlands, and pitch pine oak heath woodlands, some rare ecosystems out near Napeague. And so as it spreads off of these residential properties, it's definitely going to threaten those rare habitats. So we did detect one small miscanthus population. It most likely originated from landscape dumping, as we saw one plant that kind of was not rooted, but dying, and a few live plants nearby. So we'll also be doing some outreach to those residents nearby and informing them that, miscanthus is an invasive species and would they please remove it. So hopefully that will go a long way in protecting this region and these important ecosystems. We've also done a survey of Jerry Park in Roslyn recently. This was a project assisting our partners with prioritizing management and protecting some of their conservation targets and recreational access to the park. We were helping them detect what species were emerging for that site, not necessarily regionally emerging, but populations that they can control early on to help protect their park, helping them with prioritization and protecting those high quality areas, such as some of the restoration areas and pollinator gardens they have implemented. And we assist with a management report offering best management practices and recommendations for Jerry Park as well. And upcoming for this summer, some of our big conservation area projects are managing Phragmites in coastal plain ponds. These are emerging populations of Phragmites, less than 1,000 stems, that we will be removing by spading, cutting them at a 45-degree angle to cut off the rhizome, or underwater cane cutting them with a raspberry cane cutter to cut off the flow of oxygen and basically suffocate the plant. So we'll be doing this management in Long Pond, Sandy Pond, Sears Bellows County Park, Lioness, and Dog Ponds in collaboration with the New York State DEC. So looking forward to continuing protecting these important coastal plain ponds this summer. And with that, I'll hand it back to Abby to go over early detection and rapid response.
Thank you. Turning that up a little bit more. Is that okay? I'll speak closely to the mic. So Melody is our early detection and rapid response manager, but as mentioned, she's on maternity leave, spending time with her baby, so that's amazing. And I'll be giving some updates because we've been continuing our early detection and rapid response in her absence. So we've already got a head start on that this year, and starting in Brooklyn places. We surveyed Fort Greene Park for incised fumewort, following up on observations from my naturalist, and found only 2 individuals on a fence actually inside a garden bed area. So it's a place that's already been kind of managed. We also know of a population of this species in Staten Island, but otherwise the species is not widespread, so it's helpful to look out for. In the early spring, it can be identified by its purple flowers you can see there, also by leaves that kind of look like parsley. They're deeply incised, so it's not these ones as a violet, but it's these ones. Yeah, you can see my cursor a little bit. That is more incised. So if you see it, let us know. While we were already in Brooklyn, we took a trip to Prospect Park. This often comes up as an EDRR hotspot with a lot of introduced species that occur here and not yet in other places in our prism. So this is a learning experience for us to get to know these species while we're not doing any active management projects. It helps us see a lot in a short period of time by going there. So here are some of the species that we found that you could be more aware of. The first one is goutweed. And we saw this covering broad areas of the understory and in this and some other parks. We had this as a tier M for monitoring because and the tier M is kind of saying that we're not sure of its impact yet, but in seeing it in Prospect Park, it seemed quite widespread. So we are considering re-ranking it. 5-leaf Aurelia is in a similar boat. We found this spiky plant in a forested area and know of one other location of the species in Suffolk County. And so that's another one to keep an eye on, and it can grow quite densely when it gets in an understory when it gets into larger populations. Trifoliate orange, you see at the top, is also listed for monitoring. This spiky citrus tree, you can see the blooms coming out there, but a lot of spikes on it. It's a very interesting shape. It did appear planted in Prospect Park, not so much like spreading in the forest, so that's some information for us. Also listed for monitoring. Juliana's barberry is a tier 3 species we have in LIISMA. That means it's listed for containment, so we don't want it to spread further, but we do know of some populations, not only here in Brooklyn, but also a few in Suffolk County. And it has sharp spines that are similar to Japanese barberry or red barberry, but it has longer leaves, it has those yellow flowers, and its leaves really persist throughout the year, so easy to identify in other times. And lastly on this list, we have chocolate vine. We have it listed as a tier 4 in LIISMA for local control, but I don't think it's as common as some of our other more widespread vines like bittersweet and porcelainberry. So it's still worth keeping an eye out for. That's known for its 5 leaves that are kind of like a hand that go out, and it's a vine. So next for early detection and rapid response, we surveyed for sapphireberry in Berkeley-Jackson County Park. This is a tier 3 species listed for containment, and it does appear to be widespread in this park with other common invasive shrubs, also some many beautiful native viburnum shrubs. We found a record-breaking to us sapphireberry individual that we estimated to be about 15 feet tall. It was pretty big. It kind of looked like a small tree. It's probably been there for a long time and has helped it spread throughout that park. So it's a good species to keep an eye out for elsewhere in Suffolk County so that we can contain it. This time of year, you see these deeply ridged veins, more of the leaves. It's probably starting to have white flowers right now, but then later in the year, it gives way to sapphire-colored berries, which gives it its name. They're about the size of a pea. There's my dog. I need to put my dog out. So this is Leia, Princess Leia. She's wagging her tail at home right now. So thank you to our partners for communicating with us about emerging invasive species in 2025. You might have already got some emails if we want you to follow up on some things. So that includes New York City parks, Greenwood Cemetery, Sisters of St. Joseph right here, Comset State Park, also North Shoreline Alliance. And we're making communication a big priority this year so that we can spread our power and get together and be looking out for the species, not just our forest staff, but also our awesome partners that are in this room. So stay tuned for more. And Melody will be back in June. So next time you're at a partners meeting, she'll be giving these updates. And I'll pass it off to Cassandra to share more about education and outreach.
Abby's a little taller than me, so fix this. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassandra Moise, and I am LIISMA's newest Education and Outreach Manager. So I do see a couple of familiar faces. I see Tom, our guy back there. I used to work with New York State Department of Agriculture, and I do see Justin. I used to work with him also with New York State Department of Agriculture and also in the USDA. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled just to join my new team at LIISMA, and I'm very happy just to get to know all of you, my newest partners. So with that being said, let's just jump into our most recent outreach events. So we started in March. We did some tabling at the Long Island Natural History Conference. And then in April, we tabled at the Quag Wildlife Refuge Earth Day celebration. And then in May, we kicked off the Invasive Species Spotters webinar. Try saying that 3 times fast. All right, a little bit more information about the Invasive Species Spotters program that we launched. This is a LIISMA new training initiative just for professionals and volunteers to help them learn more about these emerging invasive species and where they are progressing on Long Island. So luckily today you guys are going to have a little abridged version of it that Cassidy is going to present. But if you want more information about the invasive species spotters, check out our page on our LIISMA website. And coming soon, we have a species ID fact sheet and a survey 1, 2, 3 guide. Happening tomorrow, we have the Long Island Native Plant Initiative is holding a plant sale. So this is starting at 9 a.m. at their greenhouse. There you'll be able just to find some native plants for your home and discount on wholesale transactions. For a complete list of the plants that they're going to have there, please check out the inventory on their website. So let's see. LIISMA is teaming with local partners for this this summer event called Community Science Long Island. So tomorrow, they're having a Phragmites poll starting at 9 a.m. at Westbrook. So if you definitely are interested, I would recommend that you email the email online. They are also having more Phragmites polls throughout the year. So if you aren't able to make it tomorrow, I definitely recommend you sending them an email and being in touch with that. So coming up very soon, we have the New York Invasive Species Awareness Week happening June 9th to the 15th. So across New York State, partners will be offering engaging outreach events just to highlight the invasive species that are emerging in their area. We will be having, we will also be having a few events like the upcoming water chestnut webinar. So this is happening on June 12th at 6 p.m. And later on that month, there will be a water chestnut poll at Massapequa Lake and Miller Park. I recommend that you register for more information. Happening very soon too is the New York State Parks is hosting a Pollinators Festival. So this will be on June 21st at 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Suckin Meadow State Park. I invite families to come out to this type of event because there will be beekeepers, butterflies, native plants, games, vendors. We will also be tabling their LIISMA. So if you are there, I recommend you stopping by and saying hello. And then continue with Community Science of Long Island. In July, we will be having an online event, an Emerging Invasive Species webinar happening on July 9th at 6 p.m. And again, they will be having they'll be having a nature walk and invasive species poll at Courtier Hall Park, happening at 10 a.m. on July 12th. Sorry, I'm a little shaky. This is my first time. And to wrap up Community Science of Long Island, on August 7th, they will be hosting a Long Island Coastal BioBlitz webinar. So the BioBlitz is interesting because it's going to run between August 10th to the 16th with 2 in-person meetings. So the first in-person meeting will be August 10th at 10 a.m. at Blydenburg Park. And the second in-person meeting will be August 16th at 10 a.m. at Cranberry Bog. Again, register for more information. And our last event, well, the last thing I'm going to mention today is our 2025 New York State Invasive Species Invasive Species Expo. So this expo is going to occur September 14th to the 16th at Saratoga State Park. This is a unique conference focusing on emerging invasive species and has immersive activities and hands-on activities that people can take part in. So I recommend you keeping an eye out for emails and more information about that event.
Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Roundtable announcements. So first off, I wanted to say thank you to the Sisters of St. Joseph for letting us have this meeting space, also our office space, and they do awesome work here. But let's get on to the roundtable announcements. If you haven't been to one of these meetings before, we're just going to go around the room if you have something to share related to invasive species news, an event coming up, something you're doing for New York Invasive Species Awareness Week, they'd like to know. And also think of this as a time to collaborate with each other in the room. We do have a little bit extra time in this meeting today since our last presenter wasn't able to come. So if this takes a little bit more time than usual, I think that's okay. We also have 11 people online, so we'll give you online people also a chance to speak. But let's start in the room over here. And there are table mics. If you see the weird thing at some of these tables, that's a microphone so the people on Zoom are able to hear you. So if you have one at your table, just be mindful that it's there. Do you have anything to share?
Oh, I just came for myself, or, to inform myself about what's going on, because I realize this is important.
Great, thank you for coming.
She brought me along. That's my first meeting with this organization.
Awesome, we're so happy to have you here. Great. Well, kind of glad just presented. Anything else to say? You're all good. Juliana?
I'm from the Town of Southampton Community Preservation Department. Right now, we're just starting up our field season where we're managing mostly mile a minute. There's a particular patch of Japanese knotweed we're focusing on. We've also found Asian jump seed on a couple of our properties, and might be dealing with some poison hemlock. So that's going to be a combination of in-house seasonal staff, and also we're going to be working with a landscaping company that we've worked with for a couple of years to help us with some selective pesticide application and more.
Awesome.
And we're working with GDI. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that. Thanks.
In the back, Darcy, have anything to say?
Got a couple of mile a minute look very basic speed, the word to speak. So we're on our website.
Great. Thank you. In the middle with the Sister of St. Joseph.
Hi, so for the California Club, if there are invasives on Long Island, they are pretty much here. Have almost all of them, or all of them, the few that we don't have, we're kind of keeping a very close eye on. I guess this year we started to do our invasive species tracking, utilizing a number of different online apps. You want to share?
Not babies, but making suggestions, so we've been bringing slowly. We've been going through a lot of our woodlands and dealing with what's in there, seeing what's in there, knocking it out, and adding things as they come across them. And hopefully that data will be very useful in the future.
Great. Thanks. How about in the back? If anybody wants to, you can decide who goes first.
And there are these 3 projects, community ones, you got one. Being invasive, doing a native project, a little catastrophic free. And so far that project has worked out pretty good. We're also doing a basic training. You ever come out to my hood of the area, we have beach, KB Park turned into an all Asian garden, worked out good, except for last year. What we recently did, in conjunction with Town of Brookhaven, Suffolk County, 3 to 10 acres, leave it alone, we're removing the invasive, and we just talked about 10 of them, September they're gonna be removed, and we're gonna native plants, the intent is to restore the creek, flooding and all that, the wildlife. So if anyone's interested, come see me later, I'll let you know. Come on down and see it, and see what it is. If you're familiar, I would say the Great South Bay, this is a unique territory where they serve and planted. And that's it.
Thank you so much. That sounds like a really cool opportunity. You guys decide who wants to speak next.
Right. Or these, we are because of rest of Schmidt's legacy, people say. We are new to LIISMA. We are actually part of it. We have a lot of ongoing invasive species management projects. Particularly, we're working with sisters. We have moved this solar right now, looking at how we can manage that project. We're doing multiple other solar arrays. We're dealing with all different settings, habitat types. So our size is here, but well.
Great. Thanks for joining us. So nice to meet you. Go ahead, Tom.
Coordinator of New York City Farm Agriculture and Orchards. Great to see Cass and that in the spot. And not often I get a chance to come down all this way, but enjoy to be here. It is unfortunate news. So funding. Hopefully you're watching what's going on in the news. Federal government, specifically the USDA, that's impacting some of our funding and some of our work projects, specifically with box tree moth and spotted lanternfly. The funding for those programs has pretty much been eliminated. We have a little bit of state funding, very little otherwise. The box agreements that we rely on from the USDA have dried up on those. For Asian longhorn beetle, which is more relevant to this version, not the spotted lanternfly, not. But for Asian longhorn beetle, the funding for that program is in place for about a year and a half. So, not such news on that front. We have some shuffling around the staff. Our Region 3 supervisor, Frank Michello, if any of you remember him from the Asian longhorn beetle days, has retired. His position was backfilled, and they announced yesterday that Mike Formicelli, he's also he is now the supervisor for Region 3. So we do anticipate having an opening at least one in the Hudson Valley, the West Valley, Westchester area. So if anyone's looking for permanent recruiting, that's a good place to go. Not announced yet, but in the coming weeks that will occur. We really appreciate all the work we've done with spotted lanternfly. It seems like it's a moving battle. It's not in every county, but we're in 17 counties at this point. I'm sorry, 17 states, 26 counties, I think. Yeah, getting beaten up a little bit on that one, but do appreciate all the help. If you still have traps from last year that are still sourced, by all means, if you have the ability to put those out, please do. It seems like a drop in the bucket, but every egg mass, every female from the leg cycle makes a big difference. We cannot support that anyway with parts or shipping or even outreach material. Is pretty much all the funding for that is gone. So not trying to end on a gloomy note, but we are still working with spotted lanternfly on the east end of Long Island and out in the Finger Lakes where there's a significant amount of wood growing. So we do appreciate all the efforts you guys have done on that. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks for making the trip. And despite all these challenges, we appreciate your support. So, go ahead, Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim Lysias. I'm a forester for New York State PDC. I cover the Flat Burns. Just two things on the management front. We are working on an investigation of herd communications on one of our state properties on Staten. This would be our fourth. It's almost village. Spring ephemeral invasives was common, and we were told about it from invasives report from a visitor to our property. So don't think that those reports disappear somewhere. They do get shared with landowners and help form management. The other thing is we're working on murder pretty much all the state-owned property on Staten Island, and we hope to make really good progress on that this year. And the third thing I'm going to talk about, quite invasives. Last year, the governor announced a plan an initiative to have everyone in New York State join together and plant 25 million trees across New York State. Few of you are nodding, some of you may have heard of this, but we now have a way to report your tree so that we can contribute to the numbers. And it's retroactive to January 1st of last year. So if you report planted any trees last year, you can click on this QR code or go to on.fy.gov/25 million trees and report your trees. You don't have to give your name. You can just say we planted a tree here, planted 500 trees here, however many it is. We have cards in the back with this QR code on it, so it's nice and easy to report. Please report your trees.
Thanks, Tim. There's also stickers in the back too. Should get that. All right, this table over here, I have a copy.
Yeah, I can start off with policy with GI consultants. So Juliana mentioned it, we're gonna be doing a lake drive into our little long pond. It's not good. Should have prepped the video, but when we were out there, I saw a big orange blob in the water, thought it was a balloon, because that balloon started swimming. It was about a 2-foot long point that went in the water. Luckily, only just one orange fish, so hopefully it's the only one that's in there. It's not funny.
Wow.
But doing some aquatic plant surveys, water quality, and also species, local water bodies. Doing some continued work at West Meadow Beach with the town of Brookhaven. If you're not familiar with the area, it's probably one of my favorite spots on the island. Nice coastal forest that goes right down a beach with a nice road that walks along it, but it faces everywhere. One of the 2 sites, I believe, plant pepperweed. Pepperweed is growing back after doing some surveys there, but we're doing some restoration there as well. Continued work at Westbrook Pond, which we mentioned earlier, with the handful of the seeds I can working with your Walter State Parks. What else? Let's see. Greenwood, continued management of Woodwedia, everything that's there, which you also mentioned, proximity to Prospect Park. It's only in one water body there, but for the second time, I found one plant in another pond on site. I probably removed it. So it is spreading on site there, but there's a little more Woodwedia management going on there. Another private pond that we were working on that has no access to the public, that not surprisingly, we have not found any invasives there yet. So that's a little encouraging, but also kind of expected when it's, no public access. So lastly, another lake management project in the town of Brookhaven at Swan Lake in Patchogue. So there's a fish passage that's been installed there. The number of invasives growing in is very shallow water body too, but excited to kick off some of that work.
Great. Thank you for all those projects. They all sound so important.
Jane Zulo, I'm not a partner. I'm with the Sierra Club. I do outdoor education, so I'm always trying to keep up with what's happening with invasive species. Most of the time when I'm out with people, I point out some of the natives and some of the non-natives. And my own property is something I would love to come and remove invasives. I've got 12 of them. And if anyone wants to get pricked to death with native raspberries mixed in with wineberries, mixed in with mile a minute, mixed in with milkport, you're welcome to my property.
Thank you, Jane. Anyone else at that table want to share anything?
100%.
You are. You'll have your own time. All right. I see a New York State Parks table here in the front.
Lovely. State Parks. We have a huge laundry list of projects for the strike team, which is hopefully starting next week. I would like to introduce Ben Britt, who is our new strike team leader year round.
Ooh,
Miss out a lot. Big projects coming up are going to be Water Chestnut in Connecticut as well as Crescent Connecticut. Hopefully this will be the last year we have Water Chestnut in Connecticut.
yeah.
Now it goes not too big, so we're hoping about that. We will also be doing a biocontrol for Emerald Ashmore and Caleb Smith. We put in a request to USDA and we managed to get it,
Cool.
which I'm very happy about. But yeah, that's what we've got going on right now.
And keep us posted about that biocontroller release. We might want to watch. Anyone?
You're at New York State Parks, just to follow up with what Yuri had said, we also have some other new staff who are gonna be working part-time with invasive species. There's Justin Manchevin, who's our new technician, who's gonna be devoting some of his time for sure to invasive species, hand removals, and Kevin Flores, sitting next to me, who's our water quality monitor, who's gonna fill in his time by attacking Japanese barberry and ham and eggs he's the spurge, caper spurge. While he's not doing his water quality duties. Something else we're spending a lot of time on is in southern pine beetle cultivation. Using River Hills, there's a series of contracts coming out to remove dead beetles to the ground. But besides the forestry aspect of it as well, monitoring to get a handle on any southern pine beetle outbreak.
Thank you. You guys are all good. And last but not least, over there.
Darcy already kind of touched on it, but we'll be having those limited polls during New Year's.
Thank you. Okay, we'll turn to some of our people online. 1 second as I just try to get up the Zoom controls again to see the participants. Button. 1 second. Okay, second laptop. I'm just gonna go in order. So, and if anybody on Zoom would like to unmute yourselves, we should be able to hear you in here. So, Chris Steigerwald, you're first, followed by Christopher Smith.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Apologize I couldn't make it in person today. Kind of got double booked on meetings by accident. I'm Chris Steigerwald, forester of the DEC. Some invasive species news. We're starting to survey all our grasslands for any encroaching invasive species. We plan to implement next year maybe some herbicide work followed up with some seeding. So we're super excited about that. Trying to really do a lot of grassland restoration and some biodiversity in there. Obviously remove the invasives. And then like most people, southern pine beetle is a day-to-day problem. And, we'll be doing some aerial surveys, some regular surveys, just monitoring the spread of them. And just keeping an eye on them and then continuing to, thin our forests and, try to make them as preventative as possible for future outbreaks.
Thank you, Chris. Christopher Smith, followed by Colleen.
So going, Chris Smith, Town of Hempstead Conservation and Waterways. Right now we're currently working on some invasive Phragmites removal and Asiatic sand sedge all along our beaches. Over the last few years, they kind of started really growing in, so that's been our main focus recently.
Thank you. Colleen, do you have anything to share? All right. If not, next up is Jacob Cordero and then Kate Robb. Okay, Jacob's still muted. Kate, do you have anything to share? All right. Katie Lawson.
Hey, Abby. Katie Lawson from Division of Marine Resources. this year we're gonna expand our training and efforts to have more marine invasive species representation for the boat stewards program. And that'll be coming up in June for the LIISMA boat stewards.
Yay, thanks, Katie.
Yep.
How about Kendra Block, followed by Natalia Amarata? Okay, not hearing Kendra. Natalie?
Yeah, I think Chris kind of touched on what we're going to be doing regarding our grasslands. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Next is Natalie Villalba, followed by Tom DeMeo.
Hello, I'm here. I mean, today I'm probably just gonna have to be working on some paperwork. I just had my first day yesterday. I'm not gonna be out in the field today, but I tune into these Zoom meetings, and I'm probably gonna be finish up with some paperwork, including some training that has to be done.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Tom DeMeo?
Hey, good morning. I'm glad Tom Algeier is there. I think he pretty much covered the update for us. Thanks.
And last on the list is Hannah Moitka.
If it's him, I think
All right. Thank you for correcting the pronunciation, and thanks for joining us, Hannah. All right, we got through the roundtable announcements, and it's great to hear all the invasive species stuff you're doing. We will have a break, but feel free to do more collaboration because we have all these great minds in the room. So help each other and help yourself some food.